Las calles son del pueblo. ¿El pueblo dónde está? El pueblo está en las calles exigiendo libertad. Las calles son del pueblo. ¿El pueblo dónde está? El pueblo está en las calles exigiendo libertad. Las calles son del pueblo. ¿El pueblo dónde está? El pueblo está en las calles exigiendo libertad.
Es importante que cada uno de ustedes tome acción. No esperemos a que haya un muerto en su familia. Únanse. La policía lo que está haciendo es una manera de reprimir a la gente, de meternos el miedo. Y eso no debe de estar sucediendo. Cada uno de ustedes tiene una responsabilidad. La responsabilidad de tomar acción. La responsabilidad de pelear por su comunidad. Y sobre todo, no esperemos a que nos criminalicen. Por eso, únanse en solidaridad con lo que está pasando en las familias de Anaheim. Vengan, únanse.
No peace, no racist police, no justice, no peace, no racist police, no justice, no peace, no racist police, no justice, no peace.
The infamous Rampart division that annihilated the gang troop, when brothers and sisters, Bloods and Crips are coming together, they took cars that were impounded and did drive-by in those impounded cars to continue the gang violence. Fuck Rampart! Shut it down! 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 But it's not just Rampart. Rampart is just an example of the capitalist-driven police state that is there to profit of our suffering, of our hard work, and of our labor. It's just one example. We know in Seattle, when they killed John Peake, who was a deaf man, because he couldn't hear when the police told him to step aside. We know the example of Oscar Grant in Oakland, California, not too far away from here, up in the northern part of the state, who was killed in front of dozens of witnesses, and Johannes Messerly, who didn't even get a year in jail. These examples are countless and endless. We just walked from the murder of Manuel Jimenez, a Guatemalan immigrant, indigenous immigrant, who they murdered in cold blood, just when we said not even 5 minutes before. Or Susie Pena, who was gunned down by the police when they were tired of negotiating with their father who held her hostage. Killed, 11-month-old baby. These examples are going to continue. The more we fight back, the more we are going to see continued police repression, because they want us to work for as little as possible in the worst conditions, at the youngest ages, for the least amount of money, so that we don't complain and that we don't rise up. And if you think Obama's going to be the one to save us and stop it, you have no further to look than January 1st, 2012, when he signed the National Defense Authorization Act, making it illegal to protest for people to be indefinitely detained just by standing up for themselves in the so-called democracy. We stand in solidarity with Anaheim. That's right! We stand in solidarity with Anaheim, with all the mothers who were brutalized by the police that day. The children almost torn from their strollers when dogs were sicked on them by the murderous police, by the murderous racist police. We stand in solidarity with our sisters and brothers who are brutalized by the police internationally. That's right. We stand in solidarity with all victims of police repression and police violence and state violence that's sponsored by the capitalists. The workers will not pay for the capitalist crisis. They won't pay for it with our labor. We won't pay for it with our blood. If you equate throwing a water bottle to shooting someone in the back and then shooting them in the head and murdering them, then you don't really understand what violence is. Okay? The state, the police have been executing an attack on the working class since the working class existed. Why are they doing that? So, like our comrade Tiffany said, so that we work for less money. This crisis that they have, the capitalist crisis that they created, we didn't create it, they created it. It's getting worse, and they want us to pay for it. They want to cut our jobs. They want to cut the unions. They want to attack us. They want us to work for less money. They want to cut our health care benefits. And how are they going to be able to do that? If we're scared, if we're quiet, if we're afraid we're going to get arrested whenever we step outside and we say something that doesn't go along with what the status quo wants. And that's violence. That's violence. It's an insult to the families that have been murdered to equate smashing a window of a multi-billion-dollar corporation to the murder of someone's child. It's an insult to their life. It's an insult to their family. It's not the same at all. But what's the answer? The answer isn't just smashing windows. The answer is organizing self-defense against these police. A permanent self-defense against the state. That's the answer. It isn't just fighting them in the streets, because then we go home and they still murder people once we leave or whatever. That's not the answer. We need to call on organized labor. We need to call on community organizations, veterans, people, different communities, working class people. You're right, we need to stand our ground and organize self-defense against these killer cops, against these murderous police, and not just against the police, against our bosses who are trying to make us work more for less money. Okay? We need to organize against our landlords who are trying to extract money from us when the ground isn't moving, nothing's changed, but we still gotta pay money? Ridiculous. We shouldn't be paying anything. There shouldn't be no rent at all. We need to be fighting against ideological enemies. If people are sexist or saying racist or doing racist stuff, we need to fight that. Not those people. We need to convince them that that's our enemy. Racism is our enemy. Sexism is our enemy. Heterosexism, homophobia, transphobia is our enemy. That is our enemy. When gay people get beaten up by the police, that is police brutality.
That's right.
When trans people get beaten up by the police, that is police brutality. We need to unite all these struggles against our common enemy, which is capitalism. It's this economic system that's trying to make us work more for less. It's this economic system that has these police riding by, chilling. They act like they're not scared, but if they weren't scared, then they wouldn't be rolling by here trying to follow us. Okay? And I wanted to point out something about this. You know, sometimes people say, we shouldn't be out in the streets. What are you guys doing? What's all this about? The police murder people every day. But why are we here talking about Manuel Diaz? It's because the people stood up and fought back. That's why. And people are standing up and fighting back all over the world. In Greece, in Chile, in Nigeria, in Egypt, in Mexico. It's all going down. And when is this going to stop? When is our fight going to stop? Until we're victorious. When we don't have to worry. When we don't have to pay for living. When we have a place to live, we don't have to worry about paying our rent. When we work because we want humanity to continue, not because we have to get a paycheck for a boss who's making profit off of us. When women can walk down the street without fear, without being attacked.
That's right.
When black people can walk down the street without people looking at them and clutching their purses. When trans people can go to work and not have to worry about catcalls and jeers. When gay people can walk down the street and hold hands and do whatever anyone else does together. When we shut these stations like Rampart down, when we shut them down all over because we trust each other, because we have a humanity, that we have a world that's based on humanity and people's lives and not corporations and profit and greed and patriarchy and sexism and racism and xenophobia. When people are born in another country and go to another country and they don't have to worry about walking down the street and getting pulled over and getting deported, that's when we're going to stop.
Las calles son del pueblo, el pueblo ¿dónde está? El pueblo está en las calles diciendo libertad. Las calles